Welcome to Wrap with Love. This is our class which we are going to be learning how to knit, and it's called the garter stitch. So last time you learned how to cast on, and I said in practice we just want to put on about 15 stitches. We have a tail which we won't use anymore, but now we're going to start knitting. That's called the garter stitch. You put the knitting needle in your left hand. Now this finger, the pointer finger, is like a security guard. It's guarding all these stitches so that they don't slip off the needle. This hand, you also have a security guard, and he is crucial so that you don't lose the new stitch. The second needle, in order to help support it, you're going to put it against your tummy, and then slipping from underneath, you're going to go through that hole. You're going to take the yarn connected to the ball of yarn. You're going to take it and go counterclockwise around that right needle. Security guard in place. Left hand goes up and goes through the window and slips it off the left needle to the right. And this is what we're going to be doing. Repetition, repetition. You're going to hold this yarn that's connected to the ball in your right hand. You're going to take your security guard and hold that first stitch, and this security guard holding the left stitches. And you're working really close to the tip of the needle. You're going from underneath, going through that hole, supporting the needle, taking the yarn counterclockwise around the right needle. See the window? Slip it through. Security guards in place, and off it goes. And that's your second stitch. Then again, right needle goes underneath, slipping up, wrap around, go through the window, and off it goes. And this is real important that you have your right needle supported by your stomach, your security guard. Now I have 3 stitches, and on this side I'm going to have my security guard holding these stitches, working close to the tip of the needle. I'm slipping up, wrap around counterclockwise, go through the window, and off it goes. And that's how you just keep on going. And I'm going to go a little bit quicker now so you can just see it's just like a sewing machine. It's got to do the same thing up and down and through the loop, around the needle, and off. So it goes, you're going to do it slowly. It takes real concentration because you have your needle on, your stitches are going to your right needle. Your yarn is in your right hand. Your security guard is always guarding those stitches, and the left security guard is always protecting those. You're going to go from the bottom and slip into that hole, counterclockwise around the needle, slip it through that hole, and off it goes. And that's how you make it grow, because now you're making the garter stitch, and you're doing the 15 stitches or whatever you put on there. If you put on 10, that's okay, because this is just practice. The square itself, if you read your instructions of the template that I gave you, you'll need to cast on 50 stitches. But I don't want anybody to do that just yet, because you need to practice. And now I've come to the last stitch, and look at it started to grow. Now this needle transfers to the left hand. The empty needle goes to your right hand. Again, I'm not going to be working my stitches down here. It's going to take too much pull to get it off that needle. So you push it to the top. Where's my security guard? It's guarding all of those stitches, only letting the one stitch that I am going to be working with, and it's pretty close to the tip. I'm going to go from underneath, and because I'm supporting it on my stomach, I can take this yarn and wrap it around the back of the needle. Here's the window, and off it goes. And then the second stitch, wrap around through the window, and off it goes. See how close I have to work with my stitches to the tip of the needle? Because it doesn't want to stretch if it's way down here. Oh my, it doesn't want to go, it just can't slip up. So I have to ride it up to the tip. My security guards, pointer fingers are very important. They got to roll to make sure those stitches stay in place and not fall off your needle. And this is called, again, the garter stitch. And this is what makes the ribbing in the finished product. And that is the first kind of stitch you'll learn how to make, and you'll be practicing it and soon. And I'm doing it pretty quickly because I've practiced a lot of years. But for you, just be patient. And remember, you just want to grab that one stitch. You're not going to this part. You're not going to that part. You're going right scratching. Make sure you're scratching that needle because that's the hole you want. You go around the back. And again, that's the same hole you want. I call it like a little window, and off it jumps. From the bottom, you slip up, wrap around, and off. So again, slipping up, hitting that needle, that's what you want. Wrap around the back, slip through the window, and off it goes. Now you've got this tail here. Don't let it confuse you. Just let it hang. The people that sew the squares together will deal with that. They can use their needle and run it through. And now look at, see this beautiful ribbing? And the back, pretty much the same, but it's starting to grow. And this is called the tension. It has a good spring in it. If you're holding it too tight, it'll be hard for you to slide it up and down. If it's too loose, it's very easy to fall all the way off the needle. So tension is something also that you'll be practicing. Again, empty needles in the right, the stitches are on your left needle, security guard in place, needle against your stomach, and that first stitch. Then you wrap it around the back. The first stitch is always the hardest because there's nothing to hold that right needle in place. And that's why your stomach is a very good supporting place so that you can hold it there. Again, always sliding right against the needle. If you get any of these other stitches, you're going to gain numbers of your stitches, and it'll start looking like a wedge. You're making it bigger and wider and wider. So at the end of after a few times of doing the garter stitch, you're making a number of rows. I often tell the students, count how many stitches you have, because if you're not doing it properly, you might be adding, or maybe you've dropped stitches, and that too is a problem that we have to solve. So now at the end, I'm going to count my stitches, and I'm going to see how many I have. Should be the same as I started with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I started with 19, and I'm continuing with 19. And I've done 3 rows. And you don't count the rows with the ridges, because there's a trick in the counting of how many rows you've done. And that's what I want you to do. Practice, and make a nice length so that we can see how you're doing with your tension. Have a good go.